I'm really excited because I've finally found the relationship that makes me so happy. And he's a freedom-seeking, joyous person, and I just adore him with everything about him is great. And there's an issue that comes up between us, or maybe between me and the things that he does.
Wise, yeah.
Is that in his freedom seeking, he really overconsumes alcohol. And when he does that, he gets really out of the vortex, and then I get out of the vortex because I observe it, and I have knee-jerk reactions to it. And the reason I thought it was interesting is because I don't have this problem personally as far as drinking goes, or drugs or anything. I don't have this issue. I never have. In fact, I enjoy drinking, and I don't mind when people do, but why does it have to be so much when it comes to him? It throws him into this really odd behavior. And I'm getting so much better at really just appreciating where he is and ignoring that issue. And I've spent a few months away from, a few weeks away from him, so I'm just missing him and really knowing that when we get back together in person that it's just going to be even better. But the reason it's interesting is because this is the third or fourth time in different relationships that big thing comes up.
That was the next question that we were presenting to you. Is this something that you've experienced before and therefore is likely, because of your observation, somewhat active in your vibration? So as we began here today, we were talking about the big question that sort of exploded into the room as a result of a lot of things that we were talking about is, how do I observe something and not have a practiced knee-jerk response to it? Because it's one thing to say, and it would be somewhat accurate to say, well, my desire for my relationship has been in the process of evolution, because most everything about this relationship is so much more in keeping with what I want than any other relationship that I've ever had. In other words, I through life have worked a lot of bugs out, and I've put a lot of the components of what I want in a relationship into my vortex, and almost all of them have flowed easily into my point of attraction, into my grid, into my real life manifested reality. But some of what I don't want is happening too. So the question that we want to put to you is, do you have the ability to focus around unwanted? We're putting that to all of you. Do you have the ability to focus around unwanted? Now, we'll make it easier. Do you have the ability to sometimes focus around unwanted? Is it inappropriate to look right at something that you don't want and have a negative knee-jerk reaction? Is that wrong?
No.
Is that normal?
Yes.
Does it feel good when it happens?
No.
So if you're doing it for you and how you feel right here and now, rather than for some effect that you're trying to create later. So if I'm just thinking about what feels best to me right now, does it feel better to me to see something that I don't want and focus on it until I rev it up into a stronger vibration? Or does it feel better to me to minimize it?
It feels better to minimize it.
So why would any of us, why would you ever do otherwise? Why would you do other than minimize it? It's a really, really good question. We're going to get to the bottom of something. There is no bottom, but we're going to get closer to the bottom. We're going to stir it up till you understand it. Why would anyone? Why would you do that? It doesn't feel good when you do it.
No.
Can you think of a reason that you might make a big deal out of something that you don't want to make a big deal out of? In fact, you'd like it to go away. Why would you amplify something that you don't want to get bigger? Because it doesn't make sense when you think about it in terms of law of attraction.
Right.
It doesn't make sense when you think of it in terms of what's in your vortex and what you want to flow into your point of attraction or into your grid. or into your real life manifestation doesn't make sense. But what is the reason that so many people look at unwanted behavior and feel a need to point it out? What do you think it is? It's because most people are operating from a flawed premise that says, if I push hard enough against this thing I do not want, that I will eventually push it out of my experience, that I will obliterate it. In other words, if I don't make a big thing about it, your mass consciousness says, if we don't examine history and make a big thing of it, and make monuments about it and have anniversaries of tragedies, if we don't continue to do that, then history will repeat itself. And we say, are you kidding? Actually, Esther says that. Isn't that why? It's a misunderstanding. But you know something different now. You know that if you amplify, if you talk about, if you give attention to, and it isn't just because when you're dealing with a youngster and they're behaving in a way that you would rather that they didn't, and you shine a spotlight on it and ask them or tell them or insist that they stop it and that they stop it right now. First of all, they can't because they've got momentum going. And your attention to it is adding to the momentum. So now they're like obsessed with this thing that they know you don't want and they don't want. But there's another factor that is at the heart or the root of their behavior, and that is they are very much freedom seekers. And it doesn't matter how logical your request for someone to behave differently is. Their quest for freedom trumps it every time. Their quest to do what they want to do. And they've got reasons. In the beginning of every drinking experience, it just feels better initially. So there is a positive reason of wanting to find relief that is in there somewhere. But when you're dealing with an adult and you are softly or in a very overt way wanting to guide them to a different behavior, you are also activating that quest for freedom that sort of trumps everything. And you have to understand that just like you have some vibrational patterning going on within you from past relationships, he does too. He's been harassed about this for as long as he can remember.
He's been harassed the least by me.
Doesn't matter. He's cued for harassment. He's cued for harassment because that's what he expects. Because that's the way society has trained him in their response to his behavior, you see. So it's pretty interesting, isn't it? So here you are having this relationship with vibrational expectations that neither one of you want to have active, that both of you have active, that are playing out into manifestation that is the only thing that is keeping this relationship from feeling really good. Now we have some questions for you.
Okay.
Really, really important, really good questions. Do you think that you want to figure this out so that you can evoke different behavior from this person?
Probably. I was going to try to deny that, but probably.
Then we have nothing for you. Because if you need another's behavior to change in order to soothe the way you feel, you're barking up the wrong tree. You just can't get there from there. Because the two of you came together on a vibrational premise that you don't like that, and that he would come doing it, and that he wouldn't like you not liking it. In other words, that is a vibrational basis of your relationship that has to evolve to another place before things can be different. That's the best we've ever said that. Did you get it? In other words, you're both getting what you have pre-paved. And it can't be any other way. And it's not the fault or the blame of either of you. It's a manifestation that's coming in response to the cooperative co-creation that the two of you have going. You are equal partners in this, you see. Equal partners in a whole lot of other magnificent things, too. Equal partners in so much that is good that it's not going to be difficult for you to work the bugs out of this. But you've got to approach it differently than you have been approaching it, or nothing's going to change, you see.